When the Minnesota Vikings hired head coach Kevin O'Connell, they thought that they were getting this young offensive wunderkind. He was Sean McVay's right-hand man. He was tall Sean McVay, etc. And so far, so good for the Vikings through 5 games. They're 4-1. They're getting it done, and offense has looked pretty good. So points-wise, they're 12th in the league, yards 14th. They're 4th in the league in first downs. Passing yards per attempt, 6.2, 14th. Rushing yards per attempt, 4.2. I could improve it just a little bit, but yards per drive, points per drive, they're up near the top 11. And then also, so here's where it's key. Third down for what? 42.9%, 7th in the league. Now, they were certainly aided by the 12-for-15 game against the crooked Chicago Bears. Love to see it. Fourth down, they're number one in the league at 75%. Now, sample size, they are only 3 out of 4, but I mean, it's still 3 out of 4, man. Red zone could use some work, 57.9%, 15th in the league. PFF has them as the 5th best total offense in the league, as well as DVOA is pretty favorable on them as well, as they see them as 11th best football outsiders. So overall, I mean, the fact that the Vikings are still learning on the job and still acclimating to what Kevin O'Connell wants to do, plus Kevin O'Connell's only been a head coach for 5 games, it's pretty good. If you told me before the season, in fact, if you told most fans before the season that it was this after 5 games, yeah, you would be down to clown for it. Absolutely, man. And one thing that stood out, Kevin Seifert, ESPN, who is not Carl Gerbschmidt, tweeted this out after the Vikings-Bears game. Incredible via ESPN stats and info. Kirk Cousins threw 41 passes Sunday, and none were into a tight window, 1 or fewer yards of separation. He also completed his first 17 passes. That's the most attempts without a tight window throw since Next Gen Stats began tracking in 2016. So there's a couple reasons for all the wide open spaces. Receiver skill. Of course, you got Jefferson, you got Thielen, you got KJ, etc. Also, Keenan McCardle, absolute boss when it comes to coaching wide receivers. Kevin O'Connell's play calling, yes, that comes into it. But also beyond that, Kevin O'Connell, Wes Phillips, and the staff scouting prep work. So when they're drawing up the game plan, when they're ordering their plays, when they're thinking about when to call what play, there are things like, okay, what are the tendencies of the defense? What do they do in this down and distance? Like, are they cover 3, cover 4? What do they do? Or what do they do when they double Jefferson? Do they bracket him, etc.? What's a good call here on this down and distance? Do they blitz here? Is it going to be singled up? If we hit them with a crosser, do we have a chance to hit pay dirt? If they got their backs turned. All that stuff goes into it. And Kevin O'Connell, Wes Phillips are working very hand in glove. And you'll notice that so Wes Phillips is doing Kevin O'Connell's job when Kevin O'Connell's with the Rams. And Kevin O'Connell is basically being Sean McVay, right? And you notice that the Rams, the offense has been pretty poopy, right? And sure, part of it is Allen Robinson is washed, OBJ isn't there, as well as the offensive line is ass, thank you. But I think that there's something to the brain drain of offensive wisdom from the Rams came over here to the Vikings. That's certainly part of it, man. Also, Kirk Cousins executing, where, I mean, Cousins has worked with Kevin O'Connell before in Washington, but like you said, this is a completely different offense. He's learning on the job, learning on the fly. He is settling in very nicely. Also, I mean, just small things like Cousins audibling at the line of scrimmage, where he hasn't always had that freedom with all the various offensive coordinators under Mike Zimmer. So that is very interesting. And you can tell, like, Cousins at the line of scrimmage, he's getting them into the right play most of the time. He's reading the defense. He's checking the keys, all of that stuff. Also, they hit him with the hard count. I mean, getting a couple free plays. Yes, KJ jumped off false started once, but that doesn't matter. But it's really interesting. At home, doing things. Come on, man. Come on. And some highlights so far of the Kevin O'Connell offense. Kirk Cousins audibling, like we said, just having the freedom and having the trust of your coaches. Like, hey, they're doing this at the line of scrimmage. I'm going to change it to this, or giving him 2 options walking up to the line of scrimmage, and they pick one, and then they're able to communicate that up and down the line. Also, I like that, working that back. I don't know how to act. Slow motion for me. All the motions. Just all the motioning, whether it's Justin Jefferson, whether it's Thielen, whether it's whatever, just the defense always has something else to think about, because that receiver's coming over. Is that going to be jet sweep? Oh, now they have numbers on this side. And that last play where Cousins snuck it in from the goal line, you had Thielen on the jet sweep motion, could have gave him the ball just like on the Jefferson touchdown against the Saints. Or, I mean, simple things like, you had Alexander Madison just switching sides. I mean, it's just things like that where we hadn't seen it in the last couple years. And now Kevin O'Connell is bringing it in, and you can see that defenses are on their heels, especially once the Vikings get rolling and get going, man. Also, just the crossing routes. And one of the big reasons why the Vikings, Kirk Cousins had so many wide open windows, and that's just not the Bears being bad, but the Vikings have had this throughout most of the season, is those crossing routes. And the receivers are coached up where it's like, hey, you can set a pick here, and this is how you get away with it. That comes down to phenomenal coaching. That comes down to the receivers. Like, hey, you're not the primary receiver on this one, but you're going to absorb the attention of your teammate's corner or your teammate's defender, and then he's going to get wide open and bust a big play. Okay, I'm down for that. So I love that the receivers are buying into that. Also, they're blocking downfield. Same thing with the tight ends. Fantastic, man. Plus, creative screens, not just the whole, hey, Dalvin, just go out into the flat. Oh, there's the ball. But they're getting the Minnesota Movement Company out in space, whether it's Bradbury, Darisaw, Ezra, Ed Ingram, or Brian O'Neill. They're very creative in the quick screens, the slow screens, the tunnel screens, all the screens, man. They're just getting it. Plus, the flea flicker screen. Like, I understand that it went for like 2 yards, but I don't care. Just all these things, beyond just the flashiness of them, defensive coordinators now have to prepare for this. Where, I mean, the last couple of years for the Vikings, it's been, okay, pretty simple offense, but they do have the personnel to execute at times. All right, so it's going to be outside zone left, outside zone right. It's going to be play action. Okay, third and long. They're going to throw it to Jefferson. Oh, we stopped it. Oh, yay. Huzzah. But now it's just like game planning nights on Tuesday evenings. Defensive coordinators are just going to be chewing on coffee beans all the way through the night. Just like, what are they going to do to us? Oh, man. Also, RPO stuff where, our RPO concepts have been trickling up to the National Football League from college and high school. Andy Reid's really been the pioneer of that. And, of course, Mahomes and Kelsey and Tyreek Hill, when he was there, like, they executed that to perfection. So now the Vikings, I mean, you saw it, like that handful of plays this season. There's been some RPO looks, and just because the Vikings don't have Kirk G3 back there, it doesn't mean that it still isn't viable. Like, Kirk Cousins is still somewhat of a threat to run, but it's really more, hey, we are going to hand off here at the mesh point, or if you overplay it, like, we're going to move out to the side and we're going to throw a pop pass. And you can't stop it. Also, the red zone shovel pass, because we complained all last week. Why can't we see creative stuff like just a shovel pass in the red zone? You see all the top offenses do it, whether it's the Bills, whether it's the Chiefs, whether it's the Rams last year, whatever. Just, we saw it with Jalen Reagor. I love it, man. Also, feeding Justin Jefferson. And the motion goes into that, and also just finding matchups and making Jefferson the primary read on most of the plays. It all factors in, man. And it's not an accident that even though Jefferson had 2 slow games against Darius Slay and the Eagles and Okudah and the Lions secondary week 3 respectively, it's not an accident that he had career high for yardage against the Packers as well as a career high for receptions against the Bears. They are getting the ball to Jefferson, and he is moving it and grooving it, and he's doing the gritty. There's variations on the gritty now. I love it, man. Now we just need to get him in the end zone more. Also, 2-minute drill competency. Outside of a few fits and starts, overall, they've been a lot better. Plus, they've had 3 straight game-winning drives against the Lions, Saints, and the Bears. Oh, my. Also, a touchdown on 3 out of 5 opening drives. They've only had 1 punt out of 5 opening drives so far, so that comes down to Kevin O'Connell at West Phillips scripting and doing a really good job. Things I still want to see. Obviously, Jefferson in the end zone, not that I'm bitter because of fantasy football, whatever, but score over 30 points. We haven't seen it yet. It's right there. I mean, they had 29 against the Bears, but 30 points. Plus, can we start averaging 30 points a game? Because I miss back in the day. The 98 Vikings, that was my team when I was growing up, man, just going out there woodshedding teams like 35-7. Can we just have that again? Be fantastic. Increase productivity in the red zone. Increase that ranking. Have more touchdowns. Stop settling for field goals that Greg Joseph may or may not miss. Who knows? Use Reagor like Debo. We've been calling for it, man. Use him like a running back. Put him on the jet sweeps. And also the shovel passes. Continue that. Second half scoring. The Vikings are only averaging 8.6 points per game after the half. They certainly need to amp that up just a smidgen. Also up the yards per carry on the ground. I understand that Dalvin is still that dude with a banged up shoulder. Madison is run for some tough yards, but the yards per carry isn't quite there yet. And running the ball, I mean, it's still the Vikings' MO. I mean, the play action comes off of that. Keeping pressure off of Kirk Cousins comes off of that. And the guys up front, I mean, even when they've struggled in pass protection in the last couple of years, and including this year, like they can still run block. So get after that. Plus, more aggressive Cousins. Like, even though Kirk Cousins has already thrown 5 interceptions this year, 3 of them against the Eagles in garbage time, don't care. I do not care. Where you saw against the Saints, where he was taking the safe route, he was being a little bit more aggressive against the Bears. And yes, I mean, Vildor picked one off because he made a great play and a great read. Whatever. I don't care. Have Cousins stay attacking down the field, and that comes down to Cousins just cowboying up and going after it, as well as Kevin O'Connell's like, hey, your primary read is down the field. I understand you won't go broke taking a profit, but you're not going to beat inflation either. So throw the freaking ball downfield. That's all, man. But overall, I mean, you see the talent. You see the talent at every single level of this offense. Same thing with the defense. But you got Kirk Cousins, who on a given day is a top 10 quarterback. Dalvin Cook, who, knocking on all the wood, when he's healthy, is one of the top 5 running backs in the game, if not higher. Madison should be a running back 1 somewhere in this league. C.J. Ham, when he does play in this new offense, is still one of the best fullbacks in the game. Jefferson is wide receiver 1 for the league. Thielen is still dynamic in the red zone. Would like to see more of it. KJ is still a fantastic wide receiver 3. Jalen Reagor has all the untapped potential in the world. Irv Smith is making some plays now that he's not dropping them. Johnny Munt is no slouch. And this offensive line, like we've harped on, is one of the best young offensive lines in the game. So, baby, we got a stew going, man. And Kevin O'Connell is becoming notorious. He's going to go boom on the league, as well as I still think he looks like a young Bug Grant. I don't know, man, but you got to believe. You got to believe, man. But your thoughts are thoughts. Take a look at the Kevin O'Connell offense so far through 5 games. Let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work, put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skol, production value.